Hey guys, I'm back. Of course, the second I hit recording, I blink out on what I want to say. So I created my first successful video, uploaded it to YouTube, which I never did before, and put it into the Wiley product, which I never did before with my stuff. And there were a lot of bumps along the way, but I liked it. So I'm going to keep using this recording program, Screencast-O-Matic. I think it's a little better than the Collaborate, but it limits your recordings to less than 15 minutes. So I'm going to play around with it a little bit, see how it goes. Of course, now I'm super fidgety, and we're going to start looking at some of the content. I like to keep the little picture of me itching myself, whatever, cleaning out my ears, so that you know there's a person behind what I'm saying, and I'm just not a computer, but I'm easily distracted, and it's painful to listen to these no matter who you are. I tried to watch YouTube videos, and all I did was check how long. So again, I think we're just going to do a bunch of little ones and see how it goes. Anyway, so we're starting with chapter 1, and we're going to see how far we can get in like 10 minutes, 12 minutes at a time. So, all right, oops, Jonada. Oh, right. I'm not going to read the slides to you, but you can certainly read them. You are taking an anatomy and physiology course. This is targeted to the non-major. I get it. The human body is a foreign language in how it's taught in other classes. Anatomy means, well, let's see what the next slide says, right? Because I don't have these committed to memory. Anatomy is structure. Physiology is how it works. So it's function. And they're very interrelated of structure and function. They work together. You lose structure, you lose function. You lose function, structure kind of falls apart too. So it goes back and forth. I love this class because it's your body, and you should know what's going on with your body and at least understand it or learn how to ask questions, right? That's the main point. I have everything I tell you when I tell you stories about my family, they're true. I don't have to make anything up. It's always kind of wacky. So let's see, chapter 1's kind of a nice get your feet wet sort of chapter. And again, these lectures just supplement all the information that you're taking in, learning about in Wiley Plus. And all right, so let's see, there's all different sorts of branches of anatomy and physiology. Some are big, some are little, like, cell biology. You're not going to see that with your own eyeballs unless you have a microscope. Histology is the study of tissues. Endocrinology, the study of glands and hormones and how they work. Anyway, it's all good. All right, so this is a very abrupt transition. When we talk about the human body, that is this cutie little guy here, right? At the organismal level. So, you as an organism, I'm going to do this backwards. I know that this is number 6, but I'm starting with it as number 1. You as an organism are made up of a bunch of different systems. Like the digestive system, that's the one shown here. No comments on how horrible this pen writes. The respiratory system, and we have all the systems we're going to go over. Probably not in this 15-minute go about, like the urinary. I say that because that's my favorite. Anyway, and it goes on and on. I think there's 12 or 13. If I take one system, like the digestive system, it consists of different organs working together for a common function. Like I'll have the liver, the stomach, the small intestines, the large intestines, the esophagus, the pharynx, all these different organs working together for a common function will make up a system. And then all the different systems, like I said, there's like 12 or 13, work together so that we have a very successful functional organism. All right, so if I take one organ, like, well, right here, we are looking at the stomach. I can break it down into different tissues. There are 4 different tissue types, 4 different categories, I guess we should say, and we will be learning about those in a couple of weeks. But so different tissues come together to make an organ. Different organs working toward a common function come together to make a system, and different systems make the organism. If I'm looking at a tissue, like this is a smooth muscle tissue, I can break it down into cells. So there's the cellular level when we talk about how things are organized. It's kind of like putting things in buckets. And what are cells made of? Cells are made of atoms and molecules. So atoms and molecules are both considered the chemical level. So we have the chemical level, atoms and molecules coming together to make cells. Cells come together, working together in a common function to make a tissue. Different tissues, because I said there's 4 different categories, come together to make an organ. Organs come together to make up one system, like digestive, respiratory, urinary. And then when you put all those together, you're actually just a bag of different organ systems. You're very interesting. But that's kind of all you are, right? And they all work together to keep you functioning. Oh, there's 11. And you know why? Really, there's not 11. There's 12, and it actually ticks me off a little bit. So we have the integumentary. All right, where's my little pen here? We have the integumentary. We're going to go into all of these different organ systems, give a brief overview. See, normally I'd ask you for all these organ systems, so this is just me talking constantly, which is kind of a bummer, right? Integumentary, skeletal, which we'll understand that, muscular, the nervous system. Yeah, I am nervous, but we have a whole system about that. The endocrine, cardiovascular, okay? It's not called circulatory. If you call it the circulatory system, I want to cry. Please don't. It's called cardiovascular. Now here's why I cry. There's the lymphatic system, which is now dumped together with the immune system. The lymphatic system is its own little system. It's the Pluto of the body. Right now, Pluto's not a planet, and now lymphatic is not its own system. That's why I say there's 12 and not 11. The respiratory, digestive, urinary, and reproductive. All right, so let's go into what these guys are all about. So when you're doing this, remember, in a previous video, I talked about those study guide questions. So when you're reviewing these different systems, and there's 11, maybe we'll call it 12, you want to know its function. What do we need that system for? And naming a couple organs or structures associated with that system. So in the integumentary system is your skin, right? The structures, I have hair, nails, sweat glands, oil glands, and the integumentary system does a whole lot. It's a protective barrier, regulates body temperature by sweating, by the hypodermis, the adipose tissue, the fat, insulating. It eliminates some waste, but I really hate that one. Tons. It helps make vitamin D with sunlight. You have input there with sensation of temperature, a touch, pressure, and also, like I said, store some fats. So that is system number 1. System number 2 is skeletal. Skeletal is all your bones and your joints, and its ligaments and its tendons and associated cartilage. So let's not forget ligaments. Ligaments are structures that hold bones to bones, and tendons hold muscle to bone. Yeah, this is why online lecturing is crappy, because these little devices they give you to use are miserable. It is protection, it is support, right? If we didn't have the skeletal system, I'd be a puddle on the floor. It's areas for muscles to attach and aids in movement. And also you have red bone marrow where blood cells come from and that sort of thing. All right, so muscular system. Muscular is all about movement, right? And there's 3 different types of muscle tissue: skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and cardiac muscle. And that's what that says right there. So it's just movement. Couldn't move if we didn't have muscles. That was number 3. Oh, so what structures do you have associated with that? Well, I guess you have tendons associated with the muscular system, and skeletal muscle and smooth muscle. The nervous system, I'm going to run out of my 15 minutes before I finish these, is your brain and spinal cord. That's your central nervous system, and then all the peripheral nerves and some other really unique structures that we will learn about to detect kind of like they're receptors for telling your body position, and they live in muscles and tendons. All right. We have the endocrine system, which is glands, and they are hormones. So they do a lot of control like the nervous system, but they're slower because they use chemical messengers that are transported in the blood. That's endocrine. And we have many, many different glands in the body, like the thyroid, the adrenal glands sitting on top of your kidneys, making epinephrine and all sorts of other structures. Your pancreas makes insulin. You have a reproductive organs, testes and ovaries, making testosterone and estrogen. Thyroid, parathyroid. We're going to learn about the endocrine. That's the last chapter we cover. And then we have cardiovascular as our next system. So cardiovascular is my heart and all my blood vessels. And blood vessels are veins, arteries, and capillaries. And it's just all about transportation. So I'll let you, I don't know about helps regulate this sort of stuff. The cardiovascular, I don't know about that one. Okay, we have the lymphatic system, which is like your spleen, your lymph nodes, your thymus, and the immune system are all those special cells that fight infections. You have specific cells that fight specific invaders. Those are B cells and T cells. You have non-specific white blood cells that fight whatever they find, and even your skin is part of the immune system. So that's a spring semester topic. All right, the respiratory system is about transporting oxygen in to the body and releasing carbon dioxide from the blood. Carbon dioxide is a huge big deal for our body, and we can't hang on to it. You have the lungs, you have the whole pathway, starting with like the nasal cavity and the pharynx and the larynx for voice, down to the trachea and the bronchi and the bronchioles. All right, I am going to have to, I have like another minute and a half. I guess we can quickly just look at the digestive we've already talked about. Digestive does a whole lot of actions to break down food and absorb food. Urinary is your main source of regulating blood pressure, regulating acids and bases, and eliminating the waste. And then the reproductive. So for urinary, obviously, it's your kidneys, your bladder, your urethras, and your ureters. And then we have the reproductive structures. That's the unnecessary system of the body. You don't need that to survive, although I think some of us do. And those structures. All right, I gotta stop because I'm trying to limit it to 15 minutes, and I'm seeing how it goes. So I will see you another time. And that's our systems. Bye.